Hey, it's Nick Simons again. It's December 21st still. Changed my shirt. I was saying something earlier about unhealthy communication. Now, here's a situation. The the little thing that divides the rooms here, the kitchen in my area here, seems to have come down, and I can't find the other piece to put it back up with. So this is what I would call a potential disturbance. I don't rehearse these little videos, obviously, but this is something I have to be ready for, because there's not going to be a cool response to this or a reaction to this when my dad gets home, or Charlie, whatever, it's just, he's automatically going to be pissed. There's no separation. It's not going to build up. It's going to go straight to pissed, and I got to be ready, because I can't feed into that. I have to be prepared to handle it, and I cannot try to change anything about how my dad communicates with me. It's his house, and we've discussed my living arrangement several times. He understands I'm trying to get out of here. It's still rather tense, and I just have to do what I need to do to keep my own peace of mind. So I have to be ready for the aggressiveness, ready for the wording, the words that are designed to provoke a reaction, and just I can't let it act like it doesn't bother me at all, because he's looking for an effect. So I have to acknowledge him for sure, but I have to make sure that I don't do anything that's going to make the situation worse. After the classes are done, that I'm going to need to use this car for a lot, we're going to have to work from there, and possibly might have to take the bus to school, things like that. Whatever I can do to limit my dependency on him. And it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. I need to be independent. So, I just have to be ready to get what I need to get done, and not have to rely on somebody else's kindness too much, because some people, they have a tendency to take advantage of people when they get themselves into, when a person gets themselves into a predicament where somebody feels they're owed gratitude. That gratitude might come in the form of some kind of respect. For the person expecting the gratitude wants to be respected, and they want their gratitude in the form of respect. So it's not exactly how it works in a lot of real life situations, but that's what people want. So I can't change the world. All I can do, I'm in survival mode. I just got to take care of myself. So yes, the plan is on for me to get the hell out of this apartment as soon as I feasibly can, without making myself too miserable. You know what I mean? So, but there will be suffering. That's one thing about it. Honestly, the jail cell that I left, the area, I was very cozy in it. I had a routine that was working. I had a brand new mattress. I had books to read. I had coffee. I mean, I was buying, the bag as much as you can spend a week, pretty much. I was doing it, and people don't understand this. People that haven't gone through the system a lot, is that once somebody gets institutionalized to that degree, that having to come out and do real life things is actually suffering more than being in the jail. Once they get acclimated and they get their niche, they find where they get in, where they fit in. Somebody in jail gets along fine, because that's just how it seems that it works. But so I guess a good point to bring out right then, since I'm talking about this, is that's usually when said individual might go back to committing crimes, because it's just faster to get what you want, instant gratification. That there's an addiction associated with committing the crimes themselves, just the whole arranging the criminal operation is, it can be somewhat stimulating, and it makes some people feel alive a lot more than just having to go through the rigmarole of ordinary everyday life. But the good news is that this last time that I spent in jail was not that great. Although I was comfortable, it was hard to find people that wanted to talk about intellectually stimulating things. The televisions in the Connecticut system effectively made books almost meaningless to most of the inmates. I'm not used to that, being from, doing overwhelming majority of my time in jail down in Pinellas County Jail, or in some prisoner work camp or annex in the Florida Department of Corrections. It's a whole other ballgame. In Connecticut, I just did about like 105 days or something. Don't want to go back. No matter how many books I can read, I can't isolate. I don't want to isolate myself like that again from people, because the conversations were painful to listen to. People reliving glory days from 20 or 30 years ago. I have stories from my days being a criminal that, I just don't like to talk about them because it gets me all excited, and then it's almost like I'm glamorizing it, and it's something I have to put to rest. I'm on another part of my life right now that I'm just supposed to learn from that experience and not really glamorize it, because now most people don't have to go through what I did, to be able to study and to learn things, and to be, just to get educated, I guess. But anyways, enough of that kind of talk. But it's time to live wisely. I don't know if I said this earlier. It's time to put it into action, and I appreciate my dad and everything he's done for me, and I don't want to make these videos a crybaby session, but I'm definitely, I was heavily involved in the unhealthy communication cycle for most of my life. Became educated somewhat at the community college on behavioral science, and now it's time to get out of my comfort zone. I don't know how I stayed here for so long in an unhealthy environment, but I didn't feel like I deserved better, I guess. And it was just part of the whole thing. And I would eventually convince him that he was wrong for how, the way that he communicated. And he would, we would go back at it like cats and dogs. I was, of course, wrong for how I felt about the way he was communicating with me. And, I definitely did my share of things for him to resent me for, so I just don't want it to make it. I don't want. Nobody's perfect, I guess, and I just have to demonstrate, what it's like to really want to change and finally do what it takes to change, instead of just reading books and knowing what people are supposed to do, and knowing what the right words to say and the type of advice to give, and then living my life like a savage, I guess you could say. Knowing what wise people think, knowing what wise people would do, living like a savage, using the same busted logic that I always used before to justify my own bullshit or whatever. You know what I mean? But it's time to rise above. For me, it is, at least. Stop making excuses for my behavior. Stop trying to use resentments as motivation, to exercise poor logic to justify my behavior. It's just time to move on. And yeah, I probably would like being in the jail more than I would like living in the sober house, because we're not supervised as much in the jail, believe it or not. And there's, you can get away with more in the jail. I don't want to get into details and specifics, but I'm going to have to change I'm going to have to change some of my values and my principles to better fit in the sober house environment, because I can't go in there acting like it's a jail or a prison where if somebody says something I don't like, we're going to go fight, or, all that nonsense has to go. I have to live up this somewhat of an edge I developed. I mean, I've been scared to let it go, but it just gets me into trouble. You know, having an edge or being willing to fight works in a lot of environments that I used to thrive in down south. As far as jails and prisons and trailer parks go, you know, you got to have a little bit of an edge. But I got to find some middle way between not, you know, being a square, as I used to post on Facebook, F the squares that go to AA meetings and this, that, but now I'm the square. Like I like to go to AA meetings so I can praise my higher power openly in a room full of my peers. You know, I don't think there's very much judging going on. It's just a nice atmosphere, the AA meetings, and I appreciate them. I never did before my mental transformation. I was one of the biggest enemies of the AA meetings. You know, I'm glad that it was obvious I was the one wrong. I doubt that I was able to sway very many people from AA. I'm glad they could probably see me for the fool that I was being. You know, and that's what it was basically. You know, so the karma works in weird ways, and you know, I went from not liking AA meetings to loving AA meetings, you know, but now because, you know, I discovered a higher power, or they discovered me, or whatever, because I wasn't looking for one, but, you know, I mean, I can't lie and say I don't believe in one. I definitely was. I was not looking for a God to enter into my life, and it's hard to explain, and plus there's no reason to even say anything. People that believe in God are going to believe that I had a whatever spiritual, supernatural experience, even if it might have been entirely natural, and it just seems supernatural. I don't know, but the results are good because despite I went through a period of trials, you know, and I made a mistake. I ended up in jail. I made another mistake and ended up in jail, and it's like, I grew up though, and now I can be shown, now for some reason, now after this period of time I did in jail, I can actually show the difference between somebody who's living their life according to what they consider their higher power's will, you know, and not their own, and that my morals will be consistent from this point on. My logic will be consistent. I'm not going to use logic to justify this situation, and then if I get in another situation, I have to readjust my logic to better, you know, justify whatever I just did. It's going to be consistent. The logic and the morals will be consistent. We're going to see a difference. You just watch.